Hi everyone, so today we're going to look at a mini album, and this is a lovely one which I've put a tattered lace die on the front, but all the papers are from Creative Crafting World. The particular one I've chosen is Pretty Poppies, and it comes on a USB. So if we open it up, all the measurements are flexible, but for the purpose of the video we're going to be using 16 by 16 mount board. It can be any sort of cardboard so long as it's good quality thick one, and you can put several pieces of A4 together. So when we look through a mini album, we've got lots of different pockets. We're going to do flaps that open. Let's just tuck that in. Little pieces that open with magnet fixings. So that one is just, you could just hear the magnet catching. This one I haven't got to yet, and I wanted to show you some blank pages, and here's one where we haven't attached the next page to. So the idea is that each page matches the one opposite. What you do to them is entirely up to you, but we're going to do this in stages so that it doesn't seem quite so daunting. So here's one which is just the bare bones, and we've got in here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 flanges in the middle to attach papers to. Now you'll see this is higher. Okay, so the technique stays the same, but I think this was about 19 centimeters high, and this one was 16. Okay, so you can add as many pages as you want, and I'm going to show you how to calculate how many of these ribs that you need. So the first thing that we're going to do is to look at the mount board. So we've got 16 by 16 for the front and the back. Okay, bear in mind these are all measurements that can be changed, and we need a centerpiece, which is going to be this back piece here, and that is going to be adjustable with the ribs that we do in a minute. So we're going to put those to one side. Right, so we're going to have a look at how we make the ribs inside our album. Now, you can make any number of ribs that go across. All of my ribs, to give it a good substantial anchorage for the pages, I like to do at 1.5 and 1.5 centimeters. So the actual ribs are 1.5 and 1.5 centimeters. So that's the one that goes up and the one that goes down. Now what you have to work out is the distance here. So if I'm doing small pages that haven't got a lot of extra bits on, so maybe they're just photographs and things, not the little pockets, this has only got 0.5 centimetre between. Okay, so that's the small one. This one has 1 centimetre strips. Between, and that allows me quite a substantial amount that I can add onto the pages without squashing the book. Okay, so for our demonstration piece, we're going to be using the 1 centimetre strip. So use an A4 sheet. You can add as much as you like to it, and we're going to come onto the scoreboard. So the first one we're doing is 1 centimetre, so that's a 1 centimetre there, and then we're going to do 1.5, 1.5. So we're going to do 1.5, 1, 2, 3, 1.5, 1, 3, 3. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Won't matter so long as I fold it on the right one. So I'm going to cross on that. That will be covered. So I've gone 1, 1.5, 1.5, 1. So I want now 1.5. There. 1.5. And I tend to go all the way along the A4 piece, even though I may not use all of it. Right, there's my odd 1 centimetre piece at the end. So I'm just going to take that now and lose that tiny bit there. Right, now I'll turn it over, and if I mark the 1.5 centimetre pieces, I know that I need double-sided tape on one side of each of those, because we're going to fold it so that we want to stick together those 1.5 centimetre pieces. So I'm going to stop the video now. I'll do the first one. Here we go. So fold that over and make sure it's fixed nicely, and then we can look at the next one. So if we take a look at this now, we've got 1 centimetre, 1.5, 1.5, and I've folded now the next 1 centimetre. So I'm going to complete that, and then we will come back and show you the finished piece. So I now have all my flanges stuck. I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm going to crease them so that they are nicely finished. Then I'm going to reverse all of those folds, which will allow me to get to the other side of the folds. Flip it over and flatten it out, because we can then do all of those bits. Now I tend to do all of the A4 sheet right the way across, because then I can decide which measurement I want for the inside of my album. So there are all my flanges nicely spaced, and it's going to give me quite a nice finish in the middle. Okay, so we're going to decide how big we want this bit. So if I put that in there, I'm going to get 6 pages. Okay, so we're going to go for 6 pages, I think, on this one, which means then that I'm going to cut off this bit here and cut off a fraction there, because I want that to fit on my piece of mount board, and you can see there it just fits nicely side to side with a tiny flange to help stick it down. I've got a tiny bit, 1/2 centimetre at the top and about 1/2 centimetre at the bottom. Okay, so I'm happy now to go ahead with that. Okay, you can put whatever size you want in there. So if you wanted more pages, you can add all the rest onto it. Okay, so we're going 16 by 16, and the first thing we need to do is to join our bits together. So if you have a look here, okay, I've got my flap and I've made a hinge. It goes both ways, and to do that I place this a little way apart. Now I use a spacer the same thickness as the mount board to just give me my spacing on there. So I'm now going to take my Scotch Magic tape, which, oh, here it is, and I'm going to place my Scotch Magic carefully down there, keeping that gap, turn it over and pull those edges over. Now I'm going to take another bit that goes on this side. Doesn't matter which, so long as you do both sides, it doesn't matter which goes first. There we go. Now I'm coming back embossing tools, and with one of the big balls I'm going to just gently stretch that down, turn it over, stretch it down, and that's actually going to be joining together. So then I can go to my smaller one and come down and just make sure that that is all nicely fixed. Right, so there is the beginning of my book. Okay. So that is part number 1, and we are going to then, in part number 2, we're going to start covering our pieces and finish off by fitting in our flange that we've made there. Okay, so that is part 1 of the video, making your spacer piece and making your album front back cover. Right, this is part 2, where we're going to cover the outside of our album. So what I've done is I've cut myself a piece of paper that is extra height, extra depth here, right, and I want it to come onto the front part of my album and onto this part as well. Okay, so measurements are flexible again, so work with what paper you've got, and I'm going to put this in several strips Yeah, so I'm attaching double-sided tape down the edges. I'll cut that off in a minute. There we go. So this will be the piece that folds round. So what I want to do now is to put a piece down there and a piece down there. All right, this is going to be the piece that fixes the spine in place. So I'll just get rid of those extra bits. There. Right, so we're going to start by taking off the strips in the middle. Okay, and I want to go down there in the middle, and I'm trying to get roughly the same amount top and bottom. So what I can do now is to fold that over. Now I don't want to stick this straight down because it needs to bend. So I'm going to hold it over and I'm going to bend that tightly around. I don't want to squash those bits yet. Okay, and I'm going to do exactly the same with this side. If you stuck it down straight, you wouldn't be able to bend your hinges. So I'm going to do that there. Right. Okay, so you've got this little gap here, don't worry about it. And I'm going to now put a piece over there. And take my tape off. There we go. And I'm going to fold that up to make a nice neat base. And I'm going to take my big embossing tool and gently push that down. So that's going in to that hinge. And I'm going to repeat it with the other side. At the moment, it doesn't matter whether it's upside down, it's the right way up. We'll decide that as we go along. So I'm going to pull that up really tight, embossing tool, and push it down into the hinge. Right, now let's test it. Now, there's no cracking along here because we bent it, we stood it up and bent it over. Okay, this is all neatly done, and actually this has now reinforced the edges. Okay, right, so spin that so it's the right way up. Now we've got to do the outside. What you don't want is lots of flappy bits. Now I've decided that I am going to have this coming up, so I have just a small band of the pink on there to bring it up. Now if I look at this, there's no real right way up. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that is a nice neat edge. Actually, no, that's right, I'll go with that one. I have cut it on the guillotine. So, double-sided tape needs to fix this nicely. We want no flappy bits, so we're going to go onto there. And we also want to put a piece roughly down here, so I will just bend it slightly. So I'm going to put a piece down that edge there, and the main piece is is going to go down there right up against that edge. And what I'm going to do is just put a couple of pieces in here like that. Okay, so this is the main piece I want to get fixed. I'm only taking that one off. And I'm going to take this and put it so that I've got my small piece of pink all the way down. So when my album is standing up, I've got this decorative piece down here. Okay, so we're now going to take the two strips off that are in the middle. And that one that hopefully is now right down the edge, and I'm going to let that fall so that I've got no creases. Right, you'll notice at the moment I've got nothing around here. So the corners are going to be cut off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece down to about there. Piece down to there. And I want a piece down there. Now, to me, that is quite a big area, so I'm going to take an extra piece to fit on there. Now, this is the scary bit. You're going to take your scissors, and if I can mark the corner for you there so you can see it clearly. I want to stay about 1/2 centimetre away from that corner. Right, so I'm going to cut, no real angle, I haven't measured it, but I'm going across there, and I want to make sure that I'm not cutting directly near those corners of the mount board. Okay, now we're going to do these two side pieces first. So again, 2 fingers, press it down and really fix it well. Don't worry about the corner. Fingers into the middle and out. Now comes the corners. So you want to take your thumbs either side and just press a fraction in. All right, just dent them in a fraction. And what we're going to do now is take the extra double-sided off and then bring our fingers over, pull the paper towards you and down. Now take a look at how neat those corners are, and there's none of it that is showing the mount board. Now we have to do exactly the same onto this side. So take that. I'm going to put double-sided tape right down the side there because I want that tight up against there. Right, I'll find out where my edge is going to be, which is about there. So I can put now double-sided roughly there, and we put a couple of bits in the middle there. So I'm going to take, I'd like to make sure that's going edge to edge. this is our main bit. And so once again we need to go down this edge and just come in the same amount as we did before. Go. Right, turn it over, open it up, and we're going to take these bits off in the middle. This bit. Lift up and make sure that goes down flat. All of this is beautifully done now, no creases. So once again we need to do the whole strip on there. You do waste a little bit of double-sided tape where you cut off here, but it does make sure that you've got tape right to the edge. So I'm going to place that one down there and just going to lift that one up, place it down. There we go. Right, this one onto there. Right, once again keep away from that corner, just about 1/2 centimetre, and we're going for the sides first. Pull it in tight and run your fingers out. Next one, pull your fingers over into the middle and run outwards. Slightly off there, but nobody's going to know any different. Thumbs in and push the corners just tightly in a bit, and then we can take these off. Go. Turn it away from you and pull towards you into the middle, and then run your fingers out. Right, now because we allowed extra on these corners, there is no gap whatsoever here. It is all tightly fixed and nice and secure. So we're going to check our hinges. Okay, and at this point I want to decide which is the front of my album. So I'm going to go for this side. So what I'm going to do at the moment, I'm just going to mark it front, back. Okay. Right. Okay. So we're going to put a piece over here and over here. Now, if you remember, I told you that you wanted to really have matching, the first page matching the front piece here. So am I going to use that one? I will just have a quick look. Right. I have these pieces here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece, cut this off here. I'm going to have the flowers coming in on this piece, and then on this piece I'm going to have the flowers on my first page. So I need to keep some bits aside for that. So if we have I think this was 16 by 16, it's upside down now. So I want to cut a piece that is 15.5. So my inner page, is 15.5 by 15.5. Okay, so I will do that and I will be back. So I've now cut my 2 pieces and I've remembered to cut opposite patterns. So this one should be a fraction of an inch smaller, and there we go. Let's move that up slightly, that's better. So there's my first bit. There's my second bit that needs to go on, so you can either do it with double-sided, or for speed for you, I'm going to just do it with an adhesive spray on this one. Okay, so there are my 2 pieces, front, back, and I've got this front and back ready onto here. Now, this was the flange that we made earlier, which I'm going to stick in, but I've got this piece here that I don't like seeing because it's not the right colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut an extra piece of the pink and I'm going to come up here. So if I take my ruler and measure top and bottom, it should be 7.5, 7.5. Okay. Right, here's the piece I've cut, which is 7.5 by 7.5. It really depends whether you have to do this bit as to what you started off with in the beginning. Okay, so if it had been white mount board, I'd have had no problem leaving it there, but because it's cream and white, I prefer to do it again. Right, so what I'm going to do now is nice edge to edge, double-sided. Split the video up so that you can do it bit by bit, so watch a piece right the way through, and then you can go back to it and work on part of your album and then view the next part. The beauty of using the digital papers is that you're never going to run out of the piece that you really want. You just go back and print another one. So I'm going to do that, and I also want to go across top and bottom. The method of gluing is entirely up to you. If you like wet glue, that's fine. We will be using wet glue on some parts, but I do like to show you all the different methods. So I'm going to take that off. The thing to remember is we're doing this, we need to accommodate our hinges again. So we need to remember to burnish those down. Tiny bit sticking out there. So, there we go. Let's get rid of some of the rubbish. There's my embossing tool. So we stretch the paper. Whoops. There. And all of this bit should be fixed down nicely. Right, so go down in size with ball tool so that you're getting right into those corners. Right, now we're going for this bit, which is going to fit in, and you remember we've got the 1/2 centimetre at the top, 1/2 centimetre at the bottom. Now this is where I like to use my wet glue. Okay, this is a nice strong glue, and when we look at this, just check that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not the right one. That's the right one. Which I've got 6 pages. Right, so I want to make sure that this edge is stuck down, the back edge is stuck down, and then I'm coming down each of these flanges. You're going to put quite a weight of paper on them, so they need to be stuck right the way through. So I'm going to take my edge there. You do have a little wiggle room, so I'm going to make sure that it's just slipped across. Right, so I need to make sure that my pages are level. And that these edge flanges that we've got do not interfere with those creases. So I'm going to open it and close a few times. Nothing's moving. So I now need to weight that down and just something. There we go. Place that on, and I'm going to leave that to dry for about an hour.